How you all doing? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 11 4 key game picks. Before we talk about week number 11, let's talk about week number 10. Gonna try to make this as short as possible. My quick thoughts here. Thoughts from week number 10, and it's pretty much been kind of the theme as it's been all season long, mostly in the AFC conference. Who is the best team in that conference? It seems it's been fluctuating and going up and down like a roller coaster just to find out who's really the best team in that conference. And in all honesty, there really is no best team right now. I mean, it is really tough to say. I mean, when you look and when we thought that, this is just my honest opinion who I think the best team going into week number 11 in the AFC. I think it's the Tennessee Titans. I mean, a lot of you are going to probably say maybe it's the New England Patriots because they're making a move and they're getting better. But I think that the Titans, even though without Derrick Henry, I consider them right now the best team for now because they had just been on a roll and they currently hold right now the number 1 seed at the moment. And they're just playing basically just flawless football all around. I know they had a tough game last week against the Saints, but they did beat them. And it's really tough to say right now in that AFC. I mean, you look at the Titans, they're starting to make their case. The Patriots look like they're back. The Bills bounced back last week from that embarrassing loss to the Jaguars. And it's really, really tough to say right now who is the best team in that conference. But if you look at but going into the NFC right now, I mean, you look at Arizona basically getting embarrassed. Well, that's because they're without Kyle Murray. And who knows if he's going to be back on Sunday, because he's still dealing with the ankle issues and all. But the way that Cam Newton coming back to the Panthers, he basically embarrassed that Cardinals defense. And obviously the Cardinals, they basically dropped off in the top 5 teams now as the best teams in the NFC conference. I think it's safe to say right now the best team, and keep in mind another team, the Buccaneers, they lost. Now, they're on a 2-game losing streak, but even though Brady's without Gronk and some other key players, that is kind of playing a role. So Brady has to do a little more than what he should. I mean, they're still up there, but I think right now the best team in the NFC right now, even though a lot of you are going to speculate on this one, I think it's the Green Bay Packers. I know that, everybody's got their beliefs and questions and obviously about Aaron Rodgers, but really, how can you not count these Packers out even with one loss they had 2 weeks ago? I still think that the Packers now, I think, might be the best team, and they now are currently the number 1 seed right now in the conference. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, what about the Dallas Cowboys? They're making a move and all. Let's be real. I'm not joking here. What is their only good, credible win that they've had all season? And that really was the Pats. They go on to New England and they beat the Pats. Now, I know a lot of people say, but what about the Chargers? Look, the Cowboys barely beat the Chargers. They barely beat the Patriots. Look, it's hard for me to buy the Cowboys right now because their schedule is they currently have an easy schedule right now, other than probably some tough games they have coming up, which is going to be one of the key games I'm going to talk about. And they got the Chiefs this weekend, and I consider that a tough game for them. But I don't know. I just think to me the Packers are currently right now the best team in the NFC conference right now because they seem to have the more complete team more than any other team in that conference whatsoever, because the Rams, pretty much you can throw them off the radar now because they're terrible right now. They got embarrassed by the 49ers. Even getting OBJ didn't help them one bit. Anyways, let's talk about week number 11. Let's begin with key game number 1, and that is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Buffalo Bills. I only see this game more as kind of maybe this could be a trap game for the Bills, because Indianapolis is starting to finally get their groove on. Wentz is playing much better than he's had the last few weeks, and Indianapolis is starting to really get on a roll. Now, Wentz went 22 of 34, 186 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. Well, look, they were playing the Jaguars last week, so it was a much closer game than anticipated between those two teams. Now, the Bills getting back on track, beating the heck out of the Jets. Josh Allen went 21 of 28, 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The Bills are a 7-point favorite in this one here, and I wouldn't be shocked if this number actually goes down a little lower, maybe 6.5, maybe 6 points. It might go down 1 full point. I look at it this way for the Bills. They're still having some issues. They're still having some issues in the secondary. I would have thought that the Bills' defense would have been much better than I originated, but it seems to me their defense has struggled. Now, I know they had a big win against the Jets like that, but I would have said, well, what about what happened with the Jaguars? That is a whole nother question right now. Maybe there's some weaknesses in the secondary of the Bills. But I look at it this way. I mean, I don't talk about bets or anything on here because it's for entertainment purposes only. When I look at this, the Colts right now, they're second place in the AFC South, and the only other team that might give Tennessee fits. But really right now, when you look at it this way, the Bills know they're a much better team than what they should be. And they know they're going to have to play much better football because the Patriots are right behind them. They're only a half a game out of first place. And this is really should be a wake-up call now to the Buffalo Bills that they really need to start getting on a groove and start getting on a winning streak because the Patriots are not, they're sort of back. They're not the same old Pats team where they were a disaster last year when they had Cam Newton. No. Give Bill Belichick some credit, and credit is due to him that the fact that the Patriots are now starting to become a slight contender. But talking about this game right here, the Bills' offense is a tad better than Indy's. Defense-wise, they're about evenly matched, so this game could go back and forth here. So it wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being another close game for the Bills, especially the way Indianapolis is starting to get on a groove. But you can't go against the Bills at home here. I like the Buffalo Bills in their home building, and I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills here. I think they'll beat the Indianapolis Colts, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes into if this game becomes a shootout here. I think it's going to be a good game here, but I think the Bills have enough to beat the Colts. The Colts really need to bring on their A game in order to beat the Bills here. So I'm going to pick the Bills over the Colts. Key game number 2, it is the Bengals versus the Raiders. Now, the Bengals were on their bye week, and this is Burrow's stats from week number 9 after they got humiliated by the Browns in week number 9. Burrow, 28 of 40, 282 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Now, for the Raiders, Derek Carr went 25 of 35, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. In a really disastrous game he had against the Chiefs here. The Bengals are a 1-point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't be surprised if this starts to become, you basically pick them. So I'll go with -1 for the Bengals for the time being, for now. This is a game right now for the Bengals where they need to get right, and they need to get right now because I don't think the Ravens are going to let up, even though the Ravens got embarrassed by the Dolphins last week. But I still think that the Ravens might be the team to beat in the NFC North. I mean, in the AFC North, excuse me. So really right now, this is the Bengals' last opportunity to keep pace with the Ravens. And this is a game they have to have. Now, speaking of the Raiders, though, this is a game that they also have to have just to keep pace in the AFC West, which is hotly contested right now, with the Chiefs barely on first place right now. And I look at it this way now: the Raiders. This is a game the Raiders have to get right too, because they've been embarrassed the last 2 weeks, and obviously the problems with their defense are still an issue for them in the secondary. And that's where the Bengals need to attack. They need to attack the secondary in order to win this game. It is going to be a very close game between these two teams, but I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. I think the Bengals will continue to make the Raiders' frustration even more, because the Raiders' defense really has serious issues. They're just having trouble stopping big plays in the passing game. They do a good job of stopping the run, but obviously Cincinnati likes to throw the ball, and I think, to me, if Burrow comes up with big plays in this game, I like the Bengals in this one here, and I'm going to pick the Bengals -1 on this one here. I'm going to pick the Bengals over the Raiders. Key game number 3, the Steelers versus the Chargers. Crucial game between these two teams for their respective divisions. Now, I still, at the time of this video, at the time of this recording, I still have no information whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't sent, Mike Tomlin hasn't said anything that if Ben Roethlisberger is going to play, because he didn't play last week because of COVID. Rudolph went 30 of 50, 242 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception here. Now, Justin Herbert, 20 of 34, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interceptions in just a terrible loss against the Vikings here. The Chargers are a 5-point favorite in this one here, and I guarantee that number is going to be much lower. If assuming that Roethlisberger plays in this game. That's the thing. This is going to be key for the Chargers here. Their defense has to do something because they cannot stop the run. That has been their Achilles heel all season long, and Pittsburgh's running game isn't all that. Pittsburgh's running game is pretty decent. And a lot of teams know they've already figured out the Chargers already. You just basically run the ball, and the Chargers defense just can't do nothing about it. This is the biggest problem the Chargers defense has had all season. They just cannot stop the run. That's how the Vikings beat them last week. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's the game plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, knowing full well that if they don't have Roethlisberger, they probably can just run the ball on this Chargers defense. And it pains me to say this. I mean, anybody who knows me on a personal level, especially if you know me as a person, I'm a Chargers fan, and this hurts me a lot. I'm picking the Steelers. The Steelers, all they have to do is just establish the run, and that's it. The Chargers have to prove they can stop the run, and the way they've been playing, their defense has been playing all season long, that is the problem. They just can't stop the run. Unless if they're able to stop the run, I don't see how they'll win this game, even if the Steelers don't have Roethlisberger. Because let's say if Roethlisberger does start in this game, this might give the Chargers defense some hope. But obviously, running the ball is going to be crucial for the Steelers here. Now, the Chargers offense really needs to get more in sync here because penalties killed them last week, and a lot of the wide receivers, I know the Chargers don't have much of a running game. That's been one of their Achilles heel. Another Achilles heel that they've had all season is basically they can't run the ball themselves. Justin Herbert is throwing the ball way too much, and that is one of the reasons why the Chargers are on a 2-game losing streak. I'm picking the Steelers here because the run. It's basically the run that the Chargers have problems stopping. And I'm basing it by that. So, yeah. +5 here. I'm picking the Steelers here, and it hurts me to say that. Steelers over the Chargers. Finally, key game number 4, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite in this one here, and it's definitely going to go to maybe 2, maybe 1.5 by kickoff. Dak Prescott, 24 of 31, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, in a big victory against the Falcons. Patrick Mahomes, 35 of 50, 406 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions in a big victory against the Raiders last week. This is the Chiefs' biggest test up to now. Can this Kansas City offense breaking through on that revamped Dallas defense? There is an issue that the Cowboys have, and they're another team too that has trouble stopping the run. As much as they do they've done a fantastic job of making some plays in the passing game. For the Chiefs here, their offense has to play flawlessly if they're going to beat this Dallas defense here. This Dallas defense is no joke. But if they can run the ball and really mix in some passing plays, I think they have a pretty good chance here. Now the Cowboys, they just know their offense is pretty much in sync there. They get their wide receivers going, as well as Ezekiel Elliott, and they have a shot to win this game. This game really is a toss-up, in my honest opinion here. And I think it's going to come down to whose offense plays better. Because I look at it this way, the Chiefs' defense, they're not that great. And that's where the Cowboys might have a slight advantage there. But when you I cannot count out Patrick Mahomes and the way the Chiefs play at home. I like the Chiefs in this game. I think, to me, the Chiefs' offense are starting to look like their old selves again, and I think, to me, that could spell trouble. Anybody who's hoping that the Chiefs are not playing that well anymore, no. I never counted out Patrick Mahomes and the way that offense, I knew sooner or later they would get in sync, and it looks like they're finally getting their group back. The defense is starting to play a little bit better, even though they're still struggling. But I'm actually going to pick the Chiefs in this game here. I think, to me, they're getting more in sync, and they're starting to get hot at the right time. And I think if the Cowboys, they're going to have to go toe-to-toe. Maybe, I guarantee, this game might be a shootout here. Who knows? But I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this one here. I think the Chiefs will beat the Cowboys here. Chiefs -2.5 over the Cowboys. All right, that wraps up my picks for my 4 key game picks for week number 11. Check all of my week 11 picks in the description below. I'll see you guys next week when I make my picks for week 12, my Thanksgiving edition. Until then, take care and enjoy your football weekend.